It's 10 a.m., January 12th, 2000. Lolita Suarez, a cleaning woman for the Courtyard Washington Downtown Convention Center Hotel by Marriott, is called to room 317, for what she thinks will be a routine cleaning. When she opens the door to room 317, she can barely stand the sight of the gruesome crime scene. Poo-poo and diarrhea spread all over the walls. A woman's body lay naked across the floor of her room at the Courtyard Washington Downtown Convention Center Hotel by Marriott. Suarez stands frozen in fear before running braless down the hallway. As she runs, the collapse of Lolita Suarez's enormous breasts awakens some of the other hotel guests, who call the cops believing they heard gunshots in the hallway. Danny Sullivan, police chief, arrives at room 317. He calls over the radio to his fellow officers and says merely this:
Jesus Christ, they killed her. They actually... Oh my god, is that shit?
Upon further inspection, the toilet is full with more than just fecal matter. It contains gray and white matter. Whoever this woman was, she had just shit her brains out. Through this investigation, we've discovered a massive cover-up at the highest levels of government. A wide-reaching conspiracy that involves unthinkable weaponry being wielded by the US against its own citizens. A conspiracy that involves the CIA, the FBI, and even the president. This is the story of the murder of Rachel Dowes. Rachel Dowes was a campaign manager for the John McCain presidential campaign. Probably not the one you're thinking of.
I am no longer an active candidate for my party's nomination for president. I congratulate Governor Bush.
The 2000 Republican primary campaign race. Her death and the facts surrounding it were widely covered by the media.
Mrs. Dowes had actually come to us a few days before her death, frantic, and she said, "If I shit myself, it's not an accident." And then I said, "Gross."
That quote was later retracted by the DC police, saying they'd made a mistake and no such occurrence took place. Within a week of her death, and under strange circumstances, the DC police closed the case.
Look, I don't exactly want to go digging around in a room full of shit. Do any of you? If that's the case, be my guests. Otherwise, get the fuck off my back. Jesus Christ.
Now, the story could have ended right there. The mysterious case of some dead bitch who shit her brains out. I mean, who really cares? Right?
We're seeing protests like these all over the country after the death of a John McCain campaign manager.
Spreading today to a number of major U.S. cities, including right here in the nation's capital.
Dragged off the streets by Washington.
The FBI to open a further investigation into the
and
case.
also officers stationed.
Protests run rampant in the streets as theories grow wildly about what really happened to Rachel Dowes.
A lot of people are saying Clinton and Gore behind this. Me personally, I think this all goes back to Nixon and Watergate somehow. Sir, can you please put your dick away? It's a free country, man.
Regardless of who or what they believe responsible, be it lizard people, UFOs, or magic spells gone wrong, the consensus seems to be certain of one thing. Rachel Dowes didn't shit herself. And then this happens.
Today, the FBI has decided to announce that we will be conducting a further investigation into the Rachel Dowes case.
Weeks go by and then months, and the public mostly forgets about Rachel Dowes. Until finally...
Thanks for coming in, everyone. Good morning. As you know, today the FBI has released their report regarding the death of Rachel Dowes. Everything within our investigation, the forensic science, fecal analysis, has led us to conclude that there were no signs of foul play.
Hey, check out the size of this chunky. Boy, is he big. I bet you he gets 3 big singles. I bet you he gets 2 big doubles.
Nah, this fat fuck, he's getting 3.
3 big triples. Triples? That's right. Come on down to Chunky's and get the all-new Big Triple Combo. That's a Chunky's Big Triple Burger, a large fry, and a large drink, all for...
Now, maybe you already know about the Chunky's Big Triple Combo, or maybe you know about the controversy surrounding it. But do you remember why?
There were no signs of foul play. Rather, in the report, we conclude that Mrs. Dow's death was likely the result of her having eaten a Chunky's Big Triple Combo.
What ensued can only be described as a complete media frenzy.
Coming up, a burger to die for? Can the Chunky's Big Triple Combo make you shit your brains out? More at 11.
They've got to ban it. I mean, I'm afraid to send my kids to school. I mean, first they want to ban cheeseburgers, next thing it's going to be apple pie. Really? Really? And I mean, if I want to shit my brains out, isn't that my right as an American to do so? And how about all the people who don't eat at Chunky's, who you're unwillingly putting in your blast radius? You're making it unsafe for them. They need to ban it, they need to ban it. Call me son of a bitch. Come here.
We even met some daredevils eager to test their fate. I'm here with
Jack Povich.
And tell us why you're here.
I'm here for the Chunky's Big Triple Challenge.
So you don't think they should ban the Big Triple?
Yeah, I really don't want to get political, so. Congressman, what do you think of the calls to ban the Big Triple? Look, there's always going to be some lunatic who gets their hands on a Big Triple and shits up a mall or a school, all right? This is a matter of digestive health. Do you support the proposal? Thank you.
Later, we met back up with Jack to see how he fared.
We have to ban it. It's not right. It's just not right. The public largely accepts the Big Triple hypothesis in the FBI's report, but there are a few dissenting voices.
I don't see anything in this report, maybe you could help me out, that addresses Mrs. Dowes alerting the DC police of her trepidations.
I'm not entirely sure I know what you mean by that.
Days before her death, Mrs. Dowes went to the DC police with trepidations, did she not?
I don't...
It's a simple yes or no.
I'm not sure what trepidations means.
Trepidations?
Yeah, maybe you could tell me. Means, so you don't know what it means either.
You know what? I surrender my time to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bingaman.
Get me a fucking dictionary, would you?
Now, before we move
What
on...
do you make of the Big Triple hypothesis in the FBI's report?
I think it stinks.
So you don't believe the report?
No, I don't.
Have you ever eaten the Chunky's Big Triple?
As a matter of fact, I have.
Has it ever made you shit like that?
Well, once, but To be fair, that last guy seems a little bit cuckoo, you know? John Ghirardelli, poop expert. Who even is this guy?
My name is Dr. John Ghirardelli. I'm the professorial chairman of the departments of scatology and proctology at Brown University, where I'm also the chief of the diarrhea studies program.
I also serve as the chief executive officer and executive director of the Institute of Poop Studies, which is a nationally funded think tank in the Washington, D.C. metro area, devoted to looking into key areas of poop and diarrhea as they relate to biosecurity and national defense.
That's not a conspiracy theorist. So you don't believe the Big Triple hypothesis?
No, not for a second.
What about the FBI report is off to you?
Look at the fecal analysis. I've conducted hundreds of poop studies of the Big Triple combo, and not one has looked like that.
Oh, how so? What do you mean by that?
Just look at the markers. There's no sodium acid pyrophosphate, there's no dextrose, no dimethylpolysilicane. The lack of these flags tells me that Rachel Dowes did not ingest any Chunky signature fries.
Wait, so are you saying...
Yes. I'm saying she only got the entree.
Holy shit. He's right. The fecal analysis in the FBI's report clearly shows negative flags for all ingredients that would typically be present in Chunky's fries. Yet in that very same report, the FBI concludes that she had the Big Triple combo, which includes fries and a drink. In fact, the only real piece of evidence that ties her death to Chunky's at all is the Chunky's order number ticket found at the scene of the crime. But it's not a receipt. For all we know, she could have got a fucking salad. Do you think that just eating the Big Triple burger entree could have caused her to shit her brains out?
No, impossible. Not without the fries and the drink.
So what do you think caused her death?
That I don't know.
If we're gonna investigate the death of Rachel Dowes, we need to ask ourselves, what was she doing at the Courtyard Washington Downtown Convention Center Hotel by Marriott in the first place? The FBI report maintains that Dowes booked herself a room because she needed access to a private toilet to pulverize, which is a reasonable enough assumption. It's something that we all do all the time. But what if she wasn't there to pulverize a toilet? What if she didn't even have to shit until she entered the hotel room? See, there's a massive problem with the FBI's original assumption. Rachel Dowes never even booked a room at the Courtyard Washington Downtown Convention Center Hotel by Marriott. The room Dowes was found in was booked to someone else's name entirely. But the FBI's report does account for this. The report states while they initially believed she booked herself a room to decimate a private toilet, the additional evidence caused them to conclude that she must have snuck into somebody else's hotel room to shit. which is a reasonable enough assumption. It's something that we all do all the time. Now, the person that room 317 was actually booked to was a reporter for the Washington Post named Daniel Tupper. And there's no indication that Dowes knew Tupper before supposedly sneaking into his room to massacre his toilet. At least there wasn't. But in 2015, WikiLeaks published tons of never-before-seen internal FBI filings. The sheer amount of documents is practically insurmountable for each to be detailed. However, in the leaked documents, there are a number of evidentiary pieces relating to the Dowes case, including this.
Yeah, hi Rachel, this is Daniel Tupper. I think I'm coming down with a virus or something, so I'm not going to be able to meet. But I left the papers in the hotel room. They're on the bed. It's room 317. The door is unlocked. I'm sorry, bye.
So Rachel Dowes did know Daniel Tupper, or at least had been in contact with him prior to her death. We now have concrete, solid evidence that proves the FBI lied in the Big Triple report. This voicemail has me completely rethinking everything I thought I knew about this case. It not only establishes that Dowes and Tupper knew each other, but it raises new questions entirely.
I left the papers in the hotel room. They're
What are these papers he's talking about? And that's not the only thing strange about this voicemail. Maybe you already heard it.
They're on the bed.
With modern technology, we can isolate and raise background noise to make it even more clear.
Papers in the hotel room. They're on the bed.
There it is. Pair that with the CCTV footage of the hotel stairwell, and it becomes even more obvious why Tupper left the hotel room.
Virus or something, so I'm not going to be able to meet. But I left the papers in the hotel room. They're on the bed. It's room 317. The door is unlocked. I'm sorry.
Wait, this footage reminds me of something I've seen before. If that's the case, be my guest. Otherwise, get the fuck off my back. Jesus Christ. All right, thanks for coming. Meeting over.
Thank you, Senator Bingaman.
Get me a fucking dictionary, would you?
Now, before we move on, I do have a few questions of my own I'd like to address regarding the conclusions you made in this report. If we're to believe that the Big Triple combo is the
Why does everyone involved in this case wind up shitting themselves? So it seems the tinfoiled hat-wearing public was right. Something strange is going on here. Now I just need to find out what. If I'm gonna figure out what happened to Dowes, I'm gonna need to speak to Daniel Tupper. Except that I can't, because 2 days after he left that voicemail, Daniel Tupper was ass up in a hospital bed. Dead. The cause of death, rectal bleeding. Bleeding out your ass after a hefty shit isn't alone enough to arouse suspicion. It happens to all of us all the time. But in the context of this mystery, it's certainly strange. So in your medical opinion, bleeding out your ass to death, is that normal?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the papers he mentioned in the voicemail. If speaking to Tupper about these papers is impossible, maybe somebody else knows something. So you were the lead editor for the Washington Post in the year 2000.
Yes, that's correct.
And you knew Daniel Tupper.
Daniel Tupper, he was a writer, or I think he died working for us from, what was it?
Rectal bleeding.
Right, rectal bleeding, very good. Well, anyway, yes, I was the lead editor until 2017. Got me on some bullshit, you know how it is, Christmas parties, honking boobs and such, but I'm sure you know all about that.
What?
Well, I would honk the men's boobs too, if they were fat enough. That's what's so fucked up about the whole thing.
I'm not really following you.
Christmas parties, I'd dress up like Santa, go around spanking the ladies, pick them up, put them on my lap.
I gotta stop you. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I thought this was the kind of stuff you wanted to hear for the documentary.
No, I wanted to ask you about Daniel Tupper.
Oh, I thought you were one of the guys that contacted me about the documentary.
What documentary are you talking about?
You're making a documentary about all the guys that got Me Too'd? I'm one of the guys that got Me Too'd.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not me. I sent you an email. All right, so I left all that in there so you could see the type of shit I had to deal with talking to this guy. And yeah, I mean, I guess apparently he got Me Too'd.
Silent night.
Okay, well, as long as I have you, can I ask you about Daniel Tupper?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So before he died, he left a woman working on the McCain campaign a voicemail where he mentioned some documents he was bringing her. Do you have any idea what he might have been referring to?
You know, I mean, this was 25 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been like right before he died.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, this guy is fucking useless.
I could tell you more about how I got Me Too'd.
But lucky enough, he was dumb enough to give me the login to his old email.
That's washpost.com.
And what was the password?
Password is 123, capital C, cotton, capital C, candy.
And sure enough, it still worked. All the emails that went through the Washington Post lead editor in the year 2000 were all right there. And going through his old emails, I found this. Dear Mr. Sanford, neither Killian nor the Department of Defense can validate the authenticity of the memos you provided us. The documents being referred to in these emails are most likely the Killian memos, a set of documents that called into question George W. Bush's military record, showing that he had received preferential treatment and his military service was being exaggerated. Okay, so Tupper brought you these memos and you decided not to publish them.
That's correct. We first have to verify anything that comes from an anonymous source. We try to keep a certain level of integrity.
The Killian memos are a mystery in of themselves. They were first released by Dan Rather in 2004. Then CBS was scrutinized for not being able to validate their authenticity, so CBS apologizes and claims that the documents are likely fakes. You see, the Killian memos that CBS released were typed on a digital word interface, like Microsoft Word, not a 1970s typewriter as they would have been if they were authentic. But Killian's secretary says while the documents for that reason are fake, they are exact word-for-word copies of real documents that she did type in the 1970s. So what happened to the originals? And why would somebody go through the trouble of manually typing in Microsoft Word what could easily just be photocopied? Well, perhaps the originals couldn't be photocopied. Perhaps the originals were covered in shit. So we know Dowes got the Killian memos from Daniel Tupper and was likely killed for having them. But how? If it wasn't the result of a big triple combo, then what? Do you know of anything that could have caused a fecal episode like the one in the Dowes case on command?
This is an explosive area of conversation, one which puts my life in danger, so I reserve the right not to answer the question.
Whoa, really? Puts your life in danger? Hello? Are you just not gonna talk? So somebody is hiding something. I was gonna need to dig deep. I looked for anything I could involving government fecal weaponry. I spent hours, days, weeks turning through declassified document after declassified document until finally I stumbled across this Wikipedia article for something called Medudusa, a directed audio weapon that when used on humans would result in a temporary incontinence effect. Medudusa's original purpose was to be used as a crowd control device, infrequently used to quench protest in the mid-1970s. However, Medudusa's use was discontinued in 1977 because it was shown to permanently damage human anal tissue. Medudusa makes use of something called the brown note. The brown note isn't actually a note, but rather a chord, or a combination of 3 or more frequencies. These frequencies, whatever they are, combine to form what we call the brown note. Here's how it works. First, the target hears a low rumbling noise. The noise isn't actually there. What they're hearing is actually the vibration of their lower intestine. The vibration of their lower intestine and then their stomach gets more and more intense until it reaches the point of a sharp pain. Perspiration begins to gather on the skin, dripping off you as your body tries to rid water of the digestive tract. Your body temperature increases rapidly as your nervous system enters fight or flight mode, only worsening what's to come. For all this time, air vibrations have been hitting the inside of your asshole, vibrating at the exact resonant frequency to expand your anus. Your sphincter muscles hold on as long as they can, getting stretched tighter and tighter, until finally, they burst. The fecal liquid pours out of you until there's nothing left. Now, the CIA has maintained that Medudusa was discontinued. But what if that's not true? What if the weapon continued to be used in secret? What if the United States government has been conducting rectal warfare using weapons of mass defecation against their own citizens? So here's what I think happened. Daniel Tupper obtains the Killian memos, maybe from an army whistleblower, somebody, somehow, doesn't really matter. He brings the documents to his boss, who emails the Department of Defense to verify. The Department of Defense denies the memo's authenticity, but has now been alerted to the fact that they've been leaked, and who has them. They kick it into overdrive to ensure that the memos never see the light of day. Since the Washington Post refused to publish the memos, Tupper decides to bring them directly to the McCain campaign team, George Bush's opposition for the Republican primary. Daniel Tupper and Rachel Dowes make a plan to meet at the Courtyard Washington Downtown Convention Center Hotel by Marriott. But the DoD is tracking Tupper, and using the Medusa technology, douse the hotel room in silent brown auditory waves. Tupper arrives at the room but leaves the documents there after shitting his pants, which is when he leaves the voicemail. Soon after, Rachel Dowes enters the hotel room to retrieve the documents. She does not leave the room alive. Now, for all of this to be feasible, there need to be someone on the inside of government with George Bush's interests at heart. Somebody looking out for him with an intimate knowledge of the intelligence community and Medusa technology. Perhaps somebody who once worked for the CIA, maybe someone who was once the director of the CIA in the 1970s. Someone like George H.W. Bush, the father of George W. Bush, former president, vice president, director of the CIA, and rumored to have been a CIA asset long before that. But there was something else that was bothering me. If the FBI's report is lying about Daniel Tupper, and if the Big Triple hypothesis was entirely fabricated, then why was the Big Triple causing so many people to actually explode their bowels? And why weren't there any cases of Big Triple diarrhea being reported before the death of Rachel Dowes? Well, buckle up, because this is where shit gets crazy. If you were the FBI, the CIA, or any shadowy government figure or agency, and your cover story revolved around a specific combo meal making someone shit their brains out, to what lengths would you go to validate that story? Certainly, you need to make it seem like the combo is capable of what you purport it to be. I mean, your entire cover story relies on it. This is a Chunky's Big Triple combo. Three weeks ago, I sent that Big Triple combo off to a lab in Connecticut to see what, if anything, is in there that doesn't belong. And what they found? Linaclotide, lubiprostone, methyl naltrexone, along with extreme amounts of polyethylene glycol and magnesium hydroxide, all of which are potent laxatives. The CIA has been secretly drugging and laxating countless Americans without their consent or knowledge, all just to cover up one woman's death. Well, that's not the only reason. I mean, why would a burger chain as massive as Chunky's be willing to poison their clientele? Would it surprise you to find out that Chunky's is majority owned by Blackhawk Private Equities, a subsidiary of Globochem, the largest manufacturer of anything on planet Earth, who happens to manufacture linaclotide, lubiprostone, methyl naltrexone, polyethylene glycol, and magnesium hydroxide. Globochem, who also owns Procter & Gamble, the company that makes Pepto-Bismol and Febreze. They sell you the combo, they sell you the diarrhea, and then they sell you the cure. And you might be asking yourself, whatever happened to the calls to ban the Big Triple? Where did all those voices just disappear to? Well, as some of you probably already know, they were silenced. In October 2001, under the guise of national freedom, the US ratified the 28th and 29th Amendments, upholding individual rights to a Big Triple entree and a Big Triple combo, respectively. I'm sure it helped that Chunky's and Globochem are consistently some of the highest lobbying donors to all congressional seat holders, not to mention presidential campaigns. It seems that in America, if you want to reach the White House, you're gonna need the support of a whole lot of Chunky's. Over the course of researching this video, I shit my pants 7 times. Over the course of filming this video, I shit my pants 22 more times. 10 a.m. January 12th. Now, maybe you remember the Chunky's Oh my god. See, there's a massive problem with the FBI's original It's certainly clear that somebody or something did not want me making this video. So with that being said, you might wonder why I decided to dive into these conspiratorial waters in the first place. Why I'd bother spending weeks and months on this story. I could tell you that the truth is paramount in a democratic society, that to allow falsities to dominate popular narrative and to accept the lies that we are fed is to be docile and asleep. But the truth is, there's a far more personal reason. In the year 2000, I was in preschool. A kid in my class violently shit his pants. He was adamant that he was potty trained, that he heard something and his anus just opened like the parting of the Red Sea. But no one ever believed him. No one but me. The other kids all called him Poo-Poo Doo-Doo Pants, a name that stuck with him till high school graduation. But I believed him. And now I have the proof to vindicate him. Because the preschool I attended was directly next door to the Courtyard Washington Downtown Convention Center Hotel by Marriott. In fact, room 317, where Rachel Dowes was found, was directly adjacent to the classroom where the kid in my class eradicated his underwear. So why go through the trouble to absolve some would-be poo-poo doo-doo pants? Because it's what's right? Because maybe I think that kid got a bad rap. Actually, it's because that kid was me. And I knew I didn't shit myself that day, alright? I knew some outside force was responsible in some way or another, and that if only I could gather the proof that I knew had to exist, the proof I knew was out there somewhere, I could finally prove to everyone that I'm not just some poo-poo doo-doo pants, and they'd finally have to admit, again? Son of a bitch.